In the heart of Bohemia, a legend was forged in ink and parchment, a book so immense it required the skins of 160 animals. Known as the Codex Gigas, or Giant Book, it measures nearly a meter tall and weighs a staggering 75 kilograms. It is the largest surviving medieval manuscript in the world, but its size is not the most fascinating part of its story. Contained within its pages is a complete Latin Bible, historical texts, medical formulas, and even magical incantations for protection. But the legend of its creation is what has earned it a much darker name: the Devil's Bible. The story claims this entire masterpiece was written in a single night by a single man with some unholy assistance. Could one person truly create such a monumental work against an impossible deadline, or did he have help from a sinister source? To understand the legend, we must travel back to the 13th century to a Benedictine monastery shrouded in secrets. Here, a monk named Herman the Recluse was about to face a grim punishment for breaking his sacred vows. His sentence was to be sealed within the monastery walls, a slow and lonely demise for his transgression. Trapped and facing his doom, Herman made a desperate plea. He vowed to create a book to glorify the monastery forever. Not just any book, but the grandest manuscript the world had ever seen, containing all human knowledge. And he made an unbelievable promise. He would complete this monumental task in a single night. The abbot and other monks, skeptical but intrigued, agreed to his terms. If he succeeded, his life would be spared. Herman was led to a cold, empty scriptorium, a room for writing, with only his materials and a single candle. The heavy door was shut behind him. The task had begun. The clock was ticking towards sunrise. He sat at the desk, the sheer scale of the task dawning on him. A mountain of blank pages lay before him. He began to write, his quill scratching against the parchment, a tiny sound in the cavernous, silent room. Hours passed. The candle burned lower and lower, and the monk had barely made a dent in the enormous pile of pages. Midnight approached, and with it came a wave of pure despair. He knew he could not succeed. His vow was impossible. As the bell tolled for midnight, Herman realized the folly of his promise. Human hands could not move this fast. He had completed only a few pages. The calligraphy was perfect, but agonizingly slow. Each letter was a monument to his failure. His own pride had condemned him. He was a man of God, but his faith was not enough to bend the laws of time. He fell to his knees, not in prayer to heaven, but in a desperate, frantic plea to any power that might be listening. Legend says he did not pray to saints or angels. His situation was too dire. He needed a different kind of miracle. He called out into the oppressive silence of the scriptorium, offering a trade, a pact with the forces of darkness. He summoned the fallen angel, Lucifer, promising his own soul in exchange for the completion of the book by sunrise. The air grew cold. The lone candle flame turned a sickly, unnatural color, casting no warmth. An agreement was struck in the heart of the holy monastery, a deal with the ultimate adversary. The price was his immortal soul. The prize was his mortal life and the completion of his impossible task. The legend states the devil agreed, but with one condition of his own for this unholy collaboration. As a mark of their pact, and as a signature of the artist, Herman had to include a full-page portrait of his new patron. The monk, with nothing left to lose, agreed, and then the supernatural work began. Possessed by this otherworldly power, Herman's hand flew across the page at a speed no human could achieve. Lines of perfect Latin script filled the pages, flowing from the quill as if from a limitless fountain. Complex diagrams, historical annals, and esoteric knowledge were transcribed in mere moments, the work of hours completed in seconds. The single candle did not burn down. Its flame remained steady and bright, illuminating the demonic miracle. All through the night, the scratching of the quill was the only sound, a constant, feverish whisper in the dark. As the first hint of dawn approached, the colossal task was nearing its end. Only one thing remained: the signature. The portrait of the book's true, infernal author. Herman took a fresh page to fulfill his end of the bargain. With colored inks of red, blue, green, and gold, the final image began to take shape on the page. It was not a subtle hint or a hidden symbol. It was a bold, terrifying, full-page portrait. Standing half a meter tall, the figure is depicted with stark simplicity and horrifying power. It has a green face, red horns, and a forked tongue. Its claws are sharp, its posture imposing. The figure is shown trapped between two large towers, symbolizing its confinement or its dominion over the world. It is the only human-like figure in the entire book depicted with such size and color, a clear statement of importance. Directly opposite this terrifying portrait is an illustration of the heavenly city, creating a stark, powerful duality. Good and evil, salvation and damnation laid bare at the very center of this monumental work. As the final stroke of ink was laid, the first rays of dawn broke through the scriptorium window. The book was finished. The pact was fulfilled. Herman the Recluse had survived the night, but at what cost? When the monks unbolted the door, they found Herman alive, slumped at his desk, seemingly asleep from exhaustion. And before him, on the lectern, stood the impossible, the completed Codex Gigas in all its glory. They were in awe, a mixture of wonder and profound fear. They had witnessed a miracle, but they suspected its dark origin. Herman's life was spared as promised. He lived out the rest of his days in the monastery, a man marked by his secret. He was said to be plagued by guilt and spiritual turmoil, having traded eternity for a few more years of life. The book itself became an object of immense pride and terror for the monastery, a treasure with a tainted soul. But is there any truth to this incredible legend? Modern analysis offers a different, though no less amazing, perspective. Graphologists studying the calligraphy have confirmed that the entire book was likely written by a single scribe. The uniformity of the writing is astonishing. There's no sign of aging, fatigue, or change in mood over the entire work. However, they estimate that to write it, a single person would have had to work continuously for 5 years, day and night. Even without supernatural help, the creation of the Codex Gigas is a feat that borders on the superhuman. Scholars believe the legend of the one night may be a metaphor for a monk who dedicated his entire life to this single monumental project. Perhaps Herman the Recluse was not his name, but his title, a man who walled himself in not for punishment, but for devotion, working for 20 to 30 years in complete isolation to produce this single masterpiece for his monastery. The legend of the pact might have arisen later, a way for people to comprehend such an unbelievable act of human dedication. Regardless of its origin, the book's journey was only just beginning. Its dark reputation would follow it through history. The monastery eventually fell into financial ruin and was forced to sell its most prized and perhaps cursed possession. The codex passed through the hands of other monasteries before finding its way into the private library of Emperor Rudolf II. Rudolf was an obsessive collector of occult and mysterious objects, and the Devil's Bible became the crown jewel of his collection. But its stay in Prague would be cut short by the turmoil of one of Europe's most devastating conflicts. In 1648, at the end of the 30 Years' conflict, the Swedish army laid siege to Prague. They plundered the city's treasures, including the vast collection of Emperor Rudolf II. The Codex Gigas, the legendary Devil's Bible, was seized as spoils and taken to Sweden. It became part of the Royal Library in Stockholm, a curiosity and a symbol of conquest. But the book's dramatic journey was not over. In 1697, disaster struck the Swedish royal castle. A devastating fire swept through the castle, consuming the royal library and its priceless contents. In a desperate attempt to save the legendary manuscript, a decision was made. There was no time to carry it. The 75-kilogram book was thrown from a high window to the ground below to save it from the flames. It survived the fall, but legend says it landed on a person below, injuring them. The book's curse, some whispered, continued. The book was damaged, and some of its pages were lost in the chaos, their contents now a mystery forever. After its narrow escape, the Codex Gigas remained in Sweden, a silent witness to centuries of change. For over 350 years, it was housed in the National Library of Sweden in Stockholm. In 2007, after centuries away, the Devil's Bible finally returned home to Prague for a special exhibition. Its return was a major national event, drawing huge crowds eager to see the legendary manuscript for themselves. Today, it rests securely back in Stockholm, one of the world's most fascinating and studied medieval artifacts. Digital technology has allowed millions to view its pages, exploring every detail of its script and illustrations online. But even with all our modern science, the central mystery remains, the question that sparked the legend. Was this the work of a man who traded his soul for his life in a moment of ultimate desperation? Or was it the work of a man with superhuman focus and devotion, who gave his entire life to a single glorious task? Perhaps the truth, like the missing pages of the Codex itself, is something we will never truly know. The Codex Gigas stands as a testament to an age of faith, fear, and incredible human achievement. Its sheer existence challenges our understanding of what is possible, blurring the line between history and myth. The story of Herman the Recluse is a powerful one. whether you believe he bargained with darkness or with his own mortality. It speaks to the lengths we might go to for survival, for glory, or for a legacy that outlives us. The infamous portrait remains at its heart, a chilling signature that fuels the dark legend. Is it a confession, a warning, or simply a medieval artist's depiction of the ultimate evil? The book itself offers no answers, only more questions written in its perfect, unwavering script. A creation so monumental, it's almost easier to believe it was the work of a devil than a man. But perhaps the most incredible story is that of pure human will, a lifetime of dedication bound in a single volume. Whether divine, demonic, or simply human, the Codex Gigas remains one of history's most powerful and enduring mysteries.